I was pregnant. He was cheating. I always thought the lowest a man could sink was to lie. Until I found out the father of my unborn child was texting another woman while I held his hand at the doctor's office. I am Wizard Liz. Some of you know me as the girl who talks about self-worth, growth, healing. I built an empire teaching others how to choose themselves. But in the quietest moments of my life, I didn't choose me. He did. Until he didn't. It started with a message. Not to me, to someone else. Hidden. He said he loved me. He said he wanted to raise our child. He held me while I cried from morning sickness. He kissed my forehead and called me his miracle. And then he opened Snapchat. He told another girl, "You're the only one who really gets me." He sent her videos, selfies, flirty texts. At the same time, he was holding my belly, talking about baby names. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the timing. I was 4 months pregnant, carrying our child, planning our future, living a lie. People say heartbreak feels like drowning. This felt like burning. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just stared at the messages and realized I've spent years teaching women to know their worth. But in this moment, I forgot mine. And I knew I had to say something. For me. For the child I was carrying. For anyone who ever felt this kind of betrayal and thought they were alone. This isn't just a cheating story. This is a story about how you rise from the ashes while still carrying life. Subscribe to Lies Unveiled, because some truths deserve to be heard, and some betrayals need to be exposed. To the outside world, we were the definition of couple goals. Instagram adored us. He was handsome, charming, supportive. I was rising in my career, balancing confidence with vulnerability. Together, we were a brand. A love story with curated filters and aesthetic lighting. We met through mutual circles creators, entrepreneurs, speakers. He was the first man who didn't just admire my strength. He encouraged it. He made space for me. Or so I thought. He said he loved the way I spoke. That my words healed him. That he wanted to build a future together with intention. Our followers watched us fall in love. Photo shoots, vacations, late-night talks turned to daydreams about babies. And when I found out I was pregnant, he cried. He held me for what felt like hours. He whispered, "This is our next chapter." We announced it softly. Not a gender reveal, not a glamorized shoot, just a photo of our hands resting on the curve of my belly. The caption read, "Life is growing. So is love." Thousands of likes. Tens of thousands of congratulations. DMs from women who told me I inspired them. And deep down, I believed it too. Because it felt real. He cooked me breakfast when I felt too tired to stand. He rubbed my back when I couldn't sleep. He made plans for a nursery. He downloaded every app for pregnancy tracking. He was there, present, loving, until he wasn't. The truth is, betrayal doesn't always start in silence. Sometimes it begins with overwhelming attention, with devotion that feels too perfect. Looking back now, I see it, the intensity, the constant connection. It was as if he was trying to prove something, not just to me, but to himself. Like he knew he was already hiding the biggest secret of our lives. I didn't want to see the signs, because when you're loved loudly, it's easy to ignore the whispers. He was still doing everything right, bringing flowers, surprising me with books I loved, posting about me with hashtags like #QueenEnergy and #MotherOfMyChild. But love isn't just about how someone shows up publicly. It's about how they treat you when no one's watching. And slowly, those moments started to change. It began with the phone. He used to leave it face up on the kitchen counter. Always. No, it was always in his pocket. Always on Do Not Disturb. When I asked, he smiled and said, "I just want to be more present with you." But he wasn't. He was present in the room, but distant in spirit. Sometimes I'd speak, and he'd nod, but not remember a word I said. He started sleeping later, staying up to edit videos or respond to messages. There was a distance in his eyes he didn't even try to hide. One night, I reached for his hand in bed, and he flinched. Not violently, just instinctively. Like even my touch was a question he wasn't ready to answer. Still, I defended him. To my friends, to myself, he's just tired. He's overwhelmed. This is just a phase. But pregnancy makes you feel things more intensely. And I started feeling like I was the only one still inside our love story. The connection that had once felt like fire was now flickering like a dying candle. There were no fights, no screaming matches, no breaking plates or slamming doors. Just quiet. Too much quiet. The kind of silence that wraps around you and slowly convinces you that you're the problem. And yet, he still kissed me goodbye. He still said he loved me. He still touched my belly and talked about baby names. But behind those moments, I began to sense it. The difference between routine and real. Because love that is real doesn't have to prove itself. Love that is hiding something tries too hard to perform. He was performing, and I was pretending not to notice. But my body knew. My heart knew. And soon, the truth would arrive uninvited, undeniable, and unstoppable. It wasn't a grand discovery. It wasn't even a dramatic confrontation. It was a moment so simple, so stupid, it almost didn't feel real. He left his laptop open. That was it. On a random Tuesday afternoon. He had gone out for a walk, said he needed air. I stayed behind, trying to decide between painting the nursery or just crying into a pillow. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. I just needed Spotify. Music calmed the baby. But when I opened his browser, the tabs were still there. Not porn, not dating sites, just a web version of Snapchat and messages. Messages from her, dozens of them. Some old, some recent, some from last night. I clicked. I wish I hadn't, but I did. Her name was saved under a single heart emoji. No name, but I knew who it was. It was the girl from that wellness retreat. The one he said was just a friend. She called him baby. She asked if I had fallen asleep yet. She sent pictures, some harmless, some not. He replied with voice notes, laughing, joking, calling her his piece. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, frozen, reading how the man I loved, the man I was carrying a child with, had built another world. A parallel life where I didn't exist. Where he said, "She doesn't know me like you do." Where he planned meets during his work trips. Where he said, "When the baby's here, I'll figure it out." Figure what out? How to lie better. How to keep both lives going. My hand shook on the mousepad. My stomach turned. The baby kicked. Even now, that moment lives in my chest like a second heartbeat. The moment my world tilted on its axis. He came back, smiling, carrying iced tea, as if my world hadn't just crumbled. I looked at him, really looked, and I realized the man I had loved was not just gone. He had never fully existed, only the version I created in my mind. I didn't confront him then. Not yet. Some wounds are so deep, you need silence first. Not to process, but to protect yourself. I closed the laptop, walked into the bathroom, and threw up. Not from morning sickness, but from betrayal. Pregnancy makes you feel everything more. Love, joy, hope, and pain. God, the pain. I looked into the mirror, pale and shaking, and whispered, "This is not the life I'm bringing my child into." And I knew, in that moment, everything had to change. It took me 3 days. 3 days of pretending, smiling weakly, eating in silence, letting him kiss my forehead and talk about stroller models. 3 days of looking at him and seeing two people, the man I thought I knew and the one who lied to both of us. I didn't sleep much. I journaled. I sat with the truth, letting it cut me in waves. By the 4th day, I was done bleeding. It was time. He came home late. Another meeting. He walked into our apartment, tossed his keys on the counter, and smiled like nothing had happened. I stood in the living room, holding the iPad, my belly round, my hands steady. He looked confused. "Everything okay?" I said one sentence. "I read the messages." His face fell, not in guilt, in fear. He stepped forward. "Liz, I raised my hand. "Don't lie." "Not anymore." He sat down, head in hands, and I watched the mask finally slip. He didn't deny it, didn't even try. "I didn't plan for this to happen," he whispered. "It just did. I didn't mean to hurt you." I laughed. Quiet, bitter. "You didn't mean to hurt me? You lied. For months. You held me while texting her. You looked into my eyes and promised me forever while planning weekends with her." He kept repeating, "I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to ... double quotes." And I realized he was more afraid of being seen as a villain than actually being one. He wasn't sorry he did it. He was sorry he got caught. I asked him a final question. "Did you ever love me?" He looked up, eyes red. "I think I did." Think? And that word sealed everything. You don't think about love. You know it. You live it. You protect it. He didn't. That night, I packed a bag. Not just for me. For my baby, I left the apartment we built, the life we shared, the man I thought would be my forever. He begged me to stay, to talk, to fix it. But you don't fix a house with a rotten foundation. You rebuild somewhere else, somewhere honest, somewhere safe. I called a friend, moved into a guest room, and cried myself to sleep holding my belly. Not because I lost him, but because I finally chose me. The first night away from him was the coldest I've ever felt. Even though I was wrapped in blankets. Even though my friend held my hand until I fell asleep. Grief isn't loud. It's not sobbing into pillows or screaming into the night. It's silence. It's sitting on the edge of a borrowed bed, staring at the wall, wondering how you ended up here. I kept touching my belly, apologizing to the child inside me. "I'm sorry you're arriving into this. Because I wanted better. I dreamed of better. And now, I had to build it alone." The days blurred. Mornings meant ginger tea, therapist calls, and forcing myself to eat. Afternoons meant paperwork, finding a new doctor, searching for a new apartment. Nights meant overthinking. I would lie awake wondering, was it my fault? Was I not enough? Was I too much? Therapy helped. But healing isn't linear. Some days I felt powerful. Other days I felt like I was drowning in questions I'd never get answered. People said I was brave. But bravery isn't a choice when you're pregnant and alone. It's survival. He messaged. Every day. Long paragraphs. Promises. Regrets. Begging. Sometimes I read them. Sometimes I didn't. But I never replied. Because I knew going back would mean betraying myself all over again. Instead, I journaled. I prayed. I talked to my baby like they were already listening. I told them we would be okay, that I would never lie to them, that love, real love, doesn't ask you to shrink. And slowly, a new version of me began to emerge. Not the woman who was cheated on, not the influencer with perfect photos, not the broken girl in someone's guest room, but a mother, a survivor, a woman who chose truth over comfort. And even though I didn't feel strong yet, I was learning to live like I already was. There was no single moment when I felt healed. No big revelation. No dramatic sunrise where everything made sense. It happened in pieces, in quiet victories, in the way I made my own breakfast without crying, in how I started humming again while folding baby clothes. Healing doesn't look like a movie montage. It looks like learning to breathe again without flinching. It started with boundaries. I blocked his number. I stopped checking his social media. I stopped caring about his side of the story, because my story, mine and my baby's, was enough. Then came forgiveness. Not for him, for me. I forgave myself for not seeing it, for loving too much, for staying too long. And when I let go of the guilt, I made space for something else. Hope. I started walking more, laughing louder, posting again, not for image, but for impact. And when my baby arrived, everything changed. The first time I held them, I realized love hadn't failed me. A man had, but love, real, unconditional love, was now breathing in my arms. They were my second chance, my reason, my proof that I didn't need someone else to complete me. I was already whole. Friends called me a warrior. Strangers messaged me saying I was inspiring. But I wasn't trying to be anything. I was just surviving, and somehow, in the process, I became someone I could finally be proud of. Someone who chose peace over performative love. Someone who chose reality over fantasy. Someone who chose themselves fully, unapologetically. And that, to me, is what becoming whole again looks like. If you've ever been betrayed, if someone you trusted shattered your world, if you've ever had to rebuild from rubble, this is for you. I can't promise the pain will disappear overnight. I can't promise the anger will vanish. But I can promise this. You will survive. You will grow. And one day, you will look back, not with rage, but with power. The kind of power that comes from knowing what you walked through and who you became because of it. To the woman I used to be, I forgive you. For all the times you chose hope over truth. For all the ways you dimmed your light to keep someone else comfortable. You didn't know better, but now you do. And to the woman I am now, you are not broken. You are blooming. Every scar is a chapter. Every tear a turning point. Every boundary a declaration that you will never again accept less than love that is whole, honest, and present. I don't need revenge. I don't need apologies. My existence, thriving, honest, healed, is enough. And for every woman who's ever whispered, I deserve more, I hope you know, you're right. You always were. So share this story if it touched you. Leave a comment if you've lived something similar. And subscribe to Lies Unveiled, where we tell the stories others try to hide. Because truth, when spoken, becomes a light. And in that light, none of us are alone.